In July 2019, Dream would hit 1000 subscribers after uploading a video on how he obtained PewDiePie's Minecraft World Seed. Today, Dream sits comfortably at the top with a massive 31 million subscribers and counting. One could always ask, how did Dream rise to this level of fame so quickly? Well, to no one's surprise, his massive growth stems from multiple viral videos. However, none play as big of a factor into his growth than one video in particular: his first Minecraft Manhunt. Dream would attempt to beat the game while his friend George hunted him down. If Dream dies, he loses the challenge. It was a simple concept, but it led to a viral hit of 15 million views. So Dream made another one, and another, and another. But his growth to fame wasn't as simple as making the same video over and over then letting the algorithm do its thing. You see, his first Manhunt videos had one major downfall that limited their potential. Dream would get an early kill on the hunter, and then he'd snowball in resources to the point it was impossible for the hunter to come back. So Dream decided to solve this by increasing the stakes as the series progressed. Versus 2 hunters, versus a hunter with a full diamond gear start, versus 3 hunters. With more than one person hunting him, they can much more easily recover from their setbacks and become a threat to him once again. While this gave his viewers an incentive to watch the video from start to finish now that he's at risk of dying throughout the entire video, in reality, all this did was replace one problem with another. With each new installment, Dream found himself inching closer and closer to failure. If things stayed the way they are, he'd be on the road to consecutive losses. Dream had 2 options: adapt, improvise, overcome, and sharpen his abilities. Acquire the skills to go head to head against 5 experienced players and come out on top. Or stagnate, stay at his current skill level, nothing ventured, nothing gained, and risk crashing the momentum of his channel's growth. With absolutely no time to lose, Dream went with the former. Welcome back to the channel, my friends. These are the 5 obstacles that Dream faced to become the player he is today. The first secret is very easy and it's something everyone can immediately start doing. See if you can notice what it is between these 2 clips. Do you see what changed? Dream began his journey to mastery with a weapon switch. While swords are perfect in basic Minecraft survival, using them in PvP will instead put you at a massive disadvantage because your attacks can be blocked by shields. In sword battles, both players bait out attacks from their opponents and throw out their own whenever shields are down, or use strategic movements to land strikes behind their opponents. In the Manhunt, Dream doesn't have the luxury for either of these since he has to face multiple hunters. In a 1v5, a sword fight forces him to permanently go on defense with his shield because there are 5 people he has to block attacks from and 5 people he has to attack. Axes circumvent this issue. They disable shields for 5 full seconds, leveling the playing field and giving Dream a wider window of opportunity for attacks of his own. They also do a lot more damage. A strike from a diamond sword against an unarmored player will deal 7 hearts of damage. To deal 7 hearts of damage with an axe, you just need a wooden one. If a player with a diamond sword and a shield goes against a player with a wooden axe and a shield, the fight is skewed towards the one with the axe. Going up the table, netherite axes deal 10 damage compared to the 8 of netherite swords. Add in armor, enchantments and critical strikes to the mix, it's not even a competition anymore. So Dream's first step to conquering Minecraft PvP was to make the first move that every Minecraft Java player made after the combat update: switching to axes. It's a switch that you, my friend, can make as well. This simple switch to the axe leads you down the right path of becoming a better player. And on top of that, it's also the easiest step that everyone of every skill level can learn pretty quickly. To prove it, let me demonstrate. I'm pretty bad at the game, I use the sword and I switch to peaceful mode whenever I get in trouble. But here's me perfecting X timings on my first try. Let's try again. Here's me perfecting X timings on my first try. Here's me perfecting X timings on my first. Oh, come on! Here's me perfecting X timings consecutively with no problems whatsoever. If someone as bad as me can achieve perfect timing on my first try after switching, then it should be so easy that even you can get used to the switch pretty quickly as well. Dream making the switch to the axe was a good first step, and it put him well ahead of his friends. But he still had plenty more to learn, and this head start wasn't going to last. Dream has made the switch to the axe, but it was only a matter of time until his friends make the switch as well, and he'll be back to square one. The clock was ticking. For each second he spent planning his next move was an inch closer the hunters would be to catching up. What was something that Dream could do to give himself a longer lasting advantage, or perhaps even a permanent advantage over the hunters? It couldn't have been a change in combat. While the axe allowed him to brute force his way out of problems, it wasn't a viable strategy. It was risky before, and it will be downright suicidal to attempt against a larger, more experienced group of hunters. Dream thought long and hard, and when he looked at the bigger picture, that's when it hit him. Switching the fight to an axe battle was something everyone could do. If he could do it, if you, the viewer, could do it, if I could do it with some limitations, then his friends can do it too. So what did Dream change in his future Manhunt fights? Nothing. He instead diverted his attention to what happens before the fight and what happens during the fight. Put simply, Dream focused more on planning and improvising for the fight rather than the fight itself. Taking a page out of the art of war, every battle is won or lost before it is ever fought. Fighting against one ugly lime green colored man with 4 of your hunter pals should be an easy axe fight. Unless said lime green man switches to a skin of one of your pals, blends in with the crowd and then ambushes you with TNT. Dream won this fight without a single swing of his axe. Entering the nether to hunt down the ugly lime green colored man should be pretty easy, there's 3 of us and only 1 of him. Until he ambushes you with a nether bit explosion. What? Dream ended this fight in less than a second. However, sometimes things don't go according to plan. In this manhunt, Dream was digging straight down like an absolute madman. He was planning to dig downwards and go full circle to ambush the hunters. However, Sapnap got too horny and got into the bed too fast.
No! Fire!
Oh god, I did not do that right.
Ah! He came out! No!
Get him!
Come here, George! Kill him, please. George, please kill him.
I'm burning! George,
Yes!
Handing him a massive head start on a silver freaking platter. Dream won the fight because he knew when to abandon a plan when better opportunities arise. You can start doing these things as well. In fact, let's go through some examples right now. In a situation where you're at a disadvantage, whether you're outnumbered or low on health, running straight turns things into an anxiety fest with one ineffective jump, one mistake, or one wrong turn could spell death for you. To put it simply, running straight is like putting yourself in a wheelchair. Can't stand it forever, and it will be a matter of time until you get too tired. Hills and slopes are your friends. Get the high ground, Anakin, Jedi, Luke, lightsaber, Skywalker, I don't know, I never watched Star Wars, and make use of the high ground to your advantage, forcing your enemies to go on the defensive or face the threat of potentially fatal fall damage. Ravines are your best friends. Dream uses them a lot. He jumps across them, and then he prevents the hunters from following him, sometimes even killing them in the process. And the ravines with water at the bottom are both perfect for you to jump into and also perfect for you to counterattack with fall damage. If you find yourself in a bad situation but a good enough distance away from your enemies, try towering. If they tower up too close to you, they'll be one punch away from falling to their deaths. Finally, when it comes to running away, your enemies might use ranged weapons such as bows and crossbows, where you could just run straight and proceed to get hit by every projectile, or just don't. You can also use other mobs to your advantage by having them tank damage you would have otherwise taken. You see these guys? They're called villagers, or as I prefer to call them, acceptable casualties. Use them as meat shields without their consent and hide behind them whenever possible. And if they die because of you, they were a worthy sacrifice for the greater good. Just pray and send them to heaven with peace and move on. Peace be with you. Peace be. The ability to use anything and everything to your advantage gives you a massive boost in combat. It certainly gave Dream a massive lead over the hunters, buying him plenty of time to make his next step. But he didn't need a single extra second. Dream already knew what he had to do to further increase this difference in skill. You see, planning and improvising around the fight rather than changing the technicalities of the fight gave him a massive lead because there was always an element of surprise. Everyone can change their weapons. Switch to an axe? Okay, I'll switch to an axe myself too. Now we're even. But planning and improvising always had an added randomness to it. One moment the hunters are chasing him down, preparing to engage in an axe fight, and in the blink of an eye, they're stuck helplessly between cobwebs before being exploded to smithereens. Catching your opponents by surprise and leveraging advantages before they can even react is one of the most effective strategies when it comes to PvP. each step you're ahead of your opponent is another step closer they are to defeat. What's more difficult, an enemy with a set pattern of moves that you can easily pick up on, memorize and create a perfect routine against, or an enemy that constantly switches things and requires you to immediately react and prepare an instant perfect counter by reflex? Obviously the second one is harder. Dream decided to capitalize on this newfound skill, rather than changing how he plans or improvises for a fight. His third secret to improving as a player was to be as unpredictable as he possibly can. In this manhunt, Dream enters a portal to avoid a fight and it sends him to the nether rooftop. Dream lets the hunters think that he trapped himself in a corner with nowhere to run. Then just as they think they've trapped him, he switches to ender pose and begins teleporting towards the portal. Exploding the portal as he leaves, he traps them in the nether with nowhere to run. Dream was multiple steps ahead of them and they played right into his hands. He predicted their neuron activation from seeing him as an easy target and used it to lure them perfectly into his trap. In this manhunt, he towers up to escape the hunters and buy himself some time. But just as they're closing in on him, he jumps down into the water to escape. No biggie, the hunters can jump down and continue the chase there. But what they don't see coming is Dream having Frostwalker enchanted boots, freezing the water they would have safely landed in, immediately killing two of the hunters, and letting him win the fight super easy, barely an inconvenience. Dream once again perfectly predicts their next moves while making sure it's impossible for them to predict his moves. I mean, of course they were surprised. We all know Depth Strider is just objectively better, and so nobody expects anyone to enchant their boots with Frostwalker because it sucks. He's always surprising them and catching them off guard with his 200 IQ next level moves.
My god.
You got it.
Wait, he's got the fishing rod?
There's physical damage, magic damage, but surprising your opponents utilizes the best kind of damage. Psychological damage. Abuse every mistake.
Capitalize on their predictability and utterly humiliate the subhuman lesser species by reminding them just how much of an absolute failure they are in life.
These three changes skyrocketed Dream into the pro scene. He became a contender for best player, alongside other masters such as Technoblade and Illumination. People began debating as to who was the best player of all time, and his name popped up quite frequently. There were even people wanting him and Technoblade to fight one-on-one to see who was the better player. However, all this attention actually ended up affecting his skills negatively. Dream has gotten to where he is because he took big steps into improving his skills. A complete change in weapons, swapping from something he's used to using for as long as he's played the game into something he's completely new to. A 180 shift in strategy, focusing on aspects other than a fight. And an unflinching focus in always trying to one-up the hunters, predicting their predictions. To continue improving as a player at this fast of a rate, he had to take another big step. It worked before, so it has to work again. However, this was an awful mindset to have. He stagnated in skill, searching for the next big thing, the next big change to make, wasting a lot of valuable time. It didn't take long for his friends to catch up to him, or at least be close enough to the point where they began to pose the threat to him once again. Dream would end his 400 series with a 3-2 score, barely making it through each win, with each rematch having Dream on the brink of death more often than he'd prefer. He would start his 500 series with a loss. With the score at 0-1, Dream was in hot water. If he doesn't improve, the 500 series is going to be a 0-2, ending it right on the spot. He's back to where he was at the start, except now the stakes were much higher and Dream had much more to lose. Had he given up at the start of the series, he'd crash the momentum of his growth. But it wasn't a big issue, as he was still in his early stages of the channel. He could have just found another viral hit to leverage off and restart the momentum. Giving up where he was now was giving up 10 to 100 millions of views. To say it would crash his momentum would be a massive understatement. Feeling the pressure of this many eyes on him, Dream has to make the most important decision of his career once again. The clock was ticking fast, time was running out. It was now or never, and so, Dream made his decision. He gave up. He gave up trying to make big drastic changes in his playstyle. And that's okay. He didn't need to make changes as big as the first three. Rather than trying to climb the skill ladder 5 steps instantly, he can just start by taking one step at a time. Dream's fourth secret was realizing that multiple small actions over the course of a longer period of time was much more beneficial than massive drastic actions in the snap of a finger. Dream went into PvP basics, taking the time to learn other PvP concepts such as bridging and staircasing, and learning how to use situational tools like the fishing rod. Dream was finally seeing improvements in his skills again. It was letting go of the constant need to make massive splitting changes and develop simple habits that gave him a steady climb to the top. Bit by bit, he inched ahead in the skill curve. It wasn't a steep slope, but at least he was making progress towards the skill ceiling once again. With a clear mind and newfound goals, Dream took one last look at the fight sequences. Perhaps it was the mental clarity. Perhaps it was being freed of all the pressure. Or maybe it was actually luck. But Dream realized here, he had one final trick up his sleeve. Let me ask you something. If I told you that to master Minecraft PvP, you'd have to master Minecraft itself, what would you say? You'd raise your eyebrows, roll your eyes and tell me, "Well duh, you don't say, Zay." But believe me when I say you should never neglect learning about Minecraft if you ever want to learn how to be good at Minecraft PvP. Dream finally realizes this in this moment. His final secret was to subscribe to Cxlvxn so he could receive entertaining educational content about Minecraft right in his YouTube home feed, joining the 11.4% of my viewers watching, making sure to hit the like button on all the videos he watches. In other words, Dream's fifth and final secret was realizing that he needed to know everything about Minecraft, from its features to its history and even the game's bugs. Do you know the amount of Iron Axe attacks it takes to kill someone in full diamond armor? Knowing when to go offensive and when to go defensive with an axe is valuable in a fight, no doubt. But Dream also knows exactly how much damage a crit from his axe deals against their armor. He also knows how long an axe disables the shields for and how many times he has to disable them. And with those, he is able to calculate how many strikes he needs to land the kill, making him 15 times more dangerous in axe fights. Do you know that the Ender Dragon Arena and the End City exist in the same dimension, each with their own coordinates? Dream does. He uses his knowledge paired with the knowledge on how to build a flying machine to enter the End City without even having to defeat the Ender Dragon, obtaining an Elytra, giving him an unstoppable advantage over the hunters, instantly killing two of them, effortlessly destroying the End Crystals and landing him an easy win in a bag. It was perfect planning meets perfect game sense that won him the rematch against the 5 hunters. Let's switch things up a bit. Do you know how fall damage is calculated in Minecraft? Dream knows it like the back of his hand. It's with this knowledge that allows him to confidently take the fall to continue fighting Sapnap without any fear of dying, despite Sapnap having way better armor than him. And for comparison, here's George who doesn't know how fall damage works. It was perfect improvisation meets perfect game knowledge and George suiciding that won Dream this fight. And in the grand finale, this was what everything was leading up to. He used his comprehensive knowledge of the game to amplify his X fights with health tracking. He amplified his fight planning and amplified his improvisations by knowing every secret that the game had to offer, thus also amplifying his unpredictability. But how does he apply this game knowledge on the PvP tactics he's learned? How does he apply it on something as situational and niche as a fishing rod?
Is he dead or what?
I don't know.
Just put the block down. Just put the block down.
I have blocks, but we can't go through that.
Just go. Do it.
Wait,
we don't have
get
time
blocks
for
from the
this.
chest or something. Get
Oh,
blocks.
I'm done.
Get some blocks. Get some blocks.
I've got blood. I've got
No
way! Yes! Oh my god!
What? No, son, no.
Bye! No! Let's go!
Ending the 5 Hunter series with 3-2. Dream has successfully conquered all the obstacles in his way. He transitioned to using an axe. He learned to plan and improvise around the fight. He developed the trait of being unpredictable. He learned a valuable lesson about progress and then diversified himself with several PvP strategies. He mastered the base game, and he successfully acquired the skills to go head-to-head against 5 experienced players and rise up on top. This was a story of how an average player who returned to the game learned 10 years of PvP in the span of 2. And these are the 5 secrets he used for his insane growth. This is how he achieved the reputation he has today. But this wasn't the full story. On October 3rd, 2020, an event in Minecraft would change his reputation for the worse. The Minecraft mob vote. It is here that Dream will be accused of rigging the mob vote and be held responsible for ruining the event and the game as a whole. But was it really Dream's fault? It's easy to point fingers and blame something or someone. In fact, it's in human nature. And this video will explain how the mob votes themselves are killing the game, will explain why I think Dream isn't to blame for rigging the mob vote. So check it out and I'll see you there.